Hey there, everybody. Welcome back. Thanks for clicking on the video. I'm real excited today because we're going to talk about Match Me Abroad Season 1, Episode 13. I promise you'll be happy. And I'm so excited because this is the season finale. I finished the whole season. It's my first show that I finished the whole season, so I'm pretty pumped about that. So make sure you like and subscribe and comment and all the things. Also, there's going to be like an update at the end about all the other cast members. They kind of did the Real Housewives thing. So I'm just going to throw that in at the end there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start this one off with Michelle. She's packing up. She's heading home back to the States. She, feels like she just got here, but at the same time, she feels like she's been there a long time. Her date with Pavel was, the best date by far that she had. He has all the things he's looking for, that she's looking for. And, now she's a little frustrated to finally have a connection with someone and she has to leave. Which is why I'm still confused at why they had dates on the last nights they were going to be there. But, whatever. So, she is happy that he's driving her to the airport for a last goodbye. She's nervous to see him. She's not sure if they just had, one good date and it was fun with the masks and the props and things. Or if they could, actually be together in normal life. Katerina says that Pavel really enjoyed the date and she's happy to hear that he's going to give Michelle a ride to the airport. They meet up. She starts off thanking him for the ride because he didn't have to do that. And he said he wanted to. He's not just trying to be a gentleman. He genuinely wants to spend more time with her. And she asked how she likes the date. She liked the date. She said she's never done anything like that, so she liked it. They both had fun. And she thanks him for a wine suggestion he made. He says that he's lived in the Chianti area, so he knows how good it is. She makes a little joke about that's where they're going to have their honeymoon. And he says yeah, and they have a nice laugh. She's in the interview saying that the distance doesn't worry her because where there's a will, there's a way. And she just isn't sure how he's feeling about it. So she asks him, what do they do now? And he's like, we stay in touch and plan trips and we can go hiking and stuff. And she just loves that idea. She's still disappointed that she has to leave this nice man, but she's understanding what Katerina was saying about surrender yourself to love. She gets now that, without that, you can't be your best self, I guess, is what she took away. And she also took away that, European men are better suited for her. She believes that now more than ever, especially after meeting Pavel. So at the airport, they have a nice little hug. She tells him they will stay in touch and they seem hopeful. And she feels like her dad would be proud of her, that she was traveling and taking chances on love. And it just feels good for her to get back into dating now. Katerina helped her navigate the waters a little bit. And she doesn't want to admit it, but she does like that Katerina challenged her. And it's not something she always wants to admit that she needs or wants, but she did. And she's convinced she found her best location for the fairy tale romance she's looking for. And she wants to see if the happy ending's in her future. So that was a nice little send-off and ending for her. There wasn't much to say. Pavel seems like a really nice, genuine, sweet guy, and she definitely seems smitten. So, I hope the best for her. She really seemed to embrace everything. And, yeah. we'll hear what happened with her at the end here. I'm going to go ahead and continue with the ladies. We get to catch up with Stanica. She's been back home now for 3 days. She just can't get Noradine off her mind, so they're having a nice little video chat. He tells her he tried to talk yesterday, and she's like, I tried to call you back, and it rang, so it was working. You just didn't answer. I just love her personality. She cracks me up. So she's telling us, he's 1,000 miles away, and she is aware that it hasn't been that long, but she just really misses him. And he misses her too, because he's asking her when she's going to come back. And she's like, well, I was going to ask you when you were coming here. And, how they need to get him a visa. And he says he's waiting for an invitation from her. She's like, what do you want from me, a letter? And they go to an interview of her, and she says, there's a lot of steps in Noradine being able to visit. They, check the bank account, they check his background, he has to have interviews, all the things. And then he says, with an actual invitation, it would be easier. Then he could say, I want to see my future wife. And she's like, oh, what? What did you say? And she's like, babe, that's a strong word. And, he's just telling her next time he sees her, he wants to spend all the time with her. He wants to get close physically. He wants to hug, touch, and kiss her. And she's blushing. She likes the thought of that, I'm sure. She also says that he has to impress her family first, but she could see a future with him, possibly kids and marriage and the white picket fence and, a puppy dog maybe. And she is open to moving there. And, she's telling him that she could maybe go back in a couple months. But never in a million years did she think she would get a matchmaker, fly across the world, find love. But she's glad she did, and she's happy. And I'm happy for them. I hope they can navigate through the visa processes and things like that. I could definitely see them being the couple that would end up on 90 day the other way or regular 90 day, something like that, even maybe before the 90 days at this point. Not sure, but I hope we see her again because she makes my heart happy. All right, enough of the lovey-doveyness. We're going to get back on the Hot Mess Express and talk about Chad. So, we're picking up where we left off before Chad made a complete ass of himself and storms off. So they're back at the table. Maria's trying to get her explanation out to him about how they're different. And he's like, that's all I need to know. He's out. She wants to be his friend. This is when he storms off, cussing up a storm and saying he's almost 40 and he doesn't have time for the BS. And that's where we left off. So, Maria followed him and is like, look, I don't want you to be mad. You never even let me speak. So he's listening and he wants her to finish. So they sit down. He's in his interview saying, well, she doesn't know what I've been through in previous engagements. They weren't honest with him. And Maria could have told him she wasn't interested. And honestly, she didn't even know this man well enough to know that she wasn't interested until he behaved like this, I am sure. I mean, and she's probably looking for more than just looks like he is. He's easier to please, this guy. So she's starting to tell him, it's hard. And he just starts laughing in her face. And he even throws a woo in there. And she tells him, the way they live is different. He told her that he always works. He prefers to work than vacation. And she thinks money is important, but so is fun and living life. She's asking if he understands her because, when she started telling him not everyone is a workaholic, he looked at her all crazy. She was crazy. She can't spend her life with someone who looks at her that way. So she's upset because when she was telling him, fun and all that is just as important in life, he was giving her the side eye. And she doesn't want to be looked at that way. So she's like, do you want to be friends? And he's like, no, I'm looking for someone now. And he's never going to Colombia again, so why would he give an F about her anymore? And I thought he loved her. I thought she was perfect. So he should care about her after he leaves, right? In some way. He only came to Colombia to find someone like her. And she's like, he's not letting her talk. And he's like, are you done? Well, are you done? Are you done? And tells her that she's just blowing smoke out of her ass. Oh my gosh. If this had been Kim Bali, he would have had that drink in his face. If it would have been me, he would have had it. That was too much. But she's cooler. She's calm. She's like, why are you so angry with me? He tells her, this is all bullshit. And she comes back with, if it was, like, why would I want to be your friend? And then he just storms off again and leaves her there crying. And there is not a woman out there who deserves to cry over this, especially from this man. He feels like she played, like he was serious and she never was. He couldn't even tell if she was. He's in the car at this point venting to Juan number 2, and I hope he goes and tells, number 1 Juan what a short fuse having asshole this guy is, so they can stop working with him, because it's not safe to send women on dates to get emotional trauma from some guy they've known for 1.5 dates. And also, like, no woman should be treated like this for saying no ever. That's why women feel pressured into relationships and things that we don't want to do, because we're afraid of this reaction. Nobody should have to deal with this. He keeps talking about how he's 40 years old, and at this point it is not a good defense, because he's acting like he's 5. And in fact, 5-year-olds probably would have done better in the situation. So Maria's still crying because, she just tried to be honest with him. And luckily she's, smart enough or like aware enough to know that this anger isn't just about her, it's about like his whole past. And it was good on her to rationalize it and figure out why, but it's still not an excuse, honestly. So he's still going off in the backseat of the car to Juan number 2, and he's like, don't lie to me, don't lead me on. And apparently he wanted to tell Maria to go to hell, but he kept his cool. So if that was him keeping his cool, I just want everyone watching this, all the women watching this, who might want to date this man, should know that that was him being nice and respectful and keeping his cool. And he just tells Juan, he's out of there. He's going back to Nashville tomorrow. I think Colombia is like better off that way. And I feel for the ladies in Nashville. But it appears that they already are on to him, I guess. So, the next time we're seeing this guy, he is packing his things. There's a knock on the door. It's Juan. He tells Juan he's packing, and Juan is like, oh, I thought you were staying for a little while longer. Chad's like, nah, my time is done here. He's had enough. I've had enough. You guys have had enough. It's time for him to go. He tells Juan that his last date went to hell, and he ended up walking off. And then Juan's like, I heard some things from Maria, and they aren't things that I was expecting. Especially, he wasn't expecting it from Chad. Chad's like, oh, stuff started good. We ordered food. We were eating. And then I needed to get some questions in. So, it's about what you need. You know, he wanted to know if she was feeling it, if she was feeling the same he was feeling about her. And Juan is like, well, maybe she needs more time to think about it. In the interview, Juan saying, you know, he's disappointed, but this is a learning experience for Chad. And the problem with like old habits, they die hard. Things keep going in a cycle. And he's like, so you don't think you did anything wrong? And he's like, yeah, I probably went a little overboard. And Juan's like, do you think you went overboard or you did? See, this is him explaining emotions to a child, because this is how I talk to my children. So Chad is like, yeah, he probably did, you know. And Juan is like, well, do you think you have a lot of anger that comes from your past and, you know, it was triggering? And he's like, wow, that's a good question. Everything I've been through, maybe it was. He just had an epiphany, apparently. And then he tells Juan, you know, he's talked to him more about his relationships than anybody back home, except for his dad, and his dad, you know, his dad passed. Juan's like, oh, so you used to talk to your dad about this stuff? And he tells him he did. And his dad wouldn't be proud of how he acted. You know, Chad thought he was over things from his past, and he isn't. So if he wants to ever move forward with anyone, he has to let that go. And, you know, this is one of those things, like, time doesn't heal these things. Like, you have to get deep down to the core and the root of the issue and, like, why you do these things, why you're in these relationships. Usually therapy. If you're this, like, unable to have relationships, it does help. He needs to try something. A life coach. Church. He goes to church. Well, therapy it is. But he does decide to, you know, apologize to Maria. Because Juan, like, he Jedi mind tricked him into it. And he also knows that his dad would want him to apologize. Juan is like, you know, what are you going to say? And he's like, basically, you know, apologize for acting like an ass and going overboard. Something real genuine, you know? And Juan's like, hey, I have a better idea. Send a message, like a voice message. It's more personal. And Juan teaches him how to send a voicemail. He tells him to say something from his heart. So this ought to be good, right? So he just says, like, hey, Maria, it's Chad. I wanted to apologize for how I carried on the other night. I should have been different. But you're a great person. And I used some language I shouldn't have. I hope you forgive me. Talk to you later. And then Juan's like, there you go, you know, a real gentleman apologizes and makes up for his mistakes. He didn't realize he made a mistake until Juan talked him into reality, but I guess I wouldn't accept that apology. I wouldn't respond personally. Chad's like, you know, that he's going to keep in touch with Juan. If he gets more vacation time, he might be back. I don't think Juan should work with him anymore. I think he's a liability. And I think Juan knows that. But I think he also wanted him to apologize to Maria before he left. And I think he wasn't going to tell him how disappointed he was. I don't think it would be safe to work with him. I don't know. What do you guys think? So Chad says he hopes, you know, Maria accepts his apology because, as it turns out, he would like to be friends with her one day. And, you know, Juan too is here to bring Chad to the airport. He says even though he's leaving empty-handed without a puppy, love, he had a great time. I never saw him have a great time until he was, like, looking at a beautiful woman, and even then he looked real nervous and, like, blah. I could see why she was afraid he doesn't know how to have fun. You know, but he said he had a great time, and just not one day ago he said he was never coming back. Also, he can't wait to get home and cut his grass. You know, it must be a jungle by now. He's just going to keep on keeping on. Life's a garden. Dig it. All that stuff. And that's enough of chat. So it would only be right to end the season with our guy Harold. He's the reason that I wanted to start doing this, because I was very interested to watch an adult autistic male's journey in love. And it didn't disappoint. I have a special place for him in my heart, and that doesn't happen often with people on these shows and me. So we meet up with him, and he's a little heartbroken. He's not really understanding why Michaela won't be his girlfriend. She kept checking off all his boxes, and he thought they were a good match, so he's not understanding. And today he's going back to Prague, but he does have a little bit of time left to win her heart. He is going to meet her at her apartment so they can talk more. He can see her place. And he just thinks this is his last chance to win her over. And it really isn't. Like, he needs to remember that they can still get to know each other after this. And I know this is probably impossible for him. But even if she had said yes, he still has to go home in a couple days. And her saying she's his girlfriend won't matter either way, because it's going to be the same situation. He's also a little sad because he was hoping to visit her apartment as her boyfriend, and now he isn't. But he gets there, and she's happy to see him. She always is, and he seems nervous. And she does say that it was a hard decision for her to tell him no, and that it was too soon, after a week. And she does like him, but she just needs more time. And I think that's fair. And we get to her flat. It is cute. She offers him a drink, and he's just happy to be there in her space. But, they need to talk business in the future and where they both stand. She says she thought about it a lot last night, but it's just too much after a week. He, lives really far away, and she needs time. She loves her family and her city and her life, and that's a big decision to just move to America after knowing someone for a week and honestly only a couple days in person. But he does a good job of explaining to her that he was getting mixed signals, because after they kissed on the first date, he just thought they were going to be together, because he doesn't normally kiss girls on a first date or anything. And she understands that, and, she tells him he's a great man with potential to be her boyfriend. He's, glad to hear that, and he's glad that they could see each other and talk about this face to face. And she's like, she does want a boyfriend eventually. And they kind of end the conversation. And then Harold is like, oh, wait, I got something here. I went shopping. And he says he hears what she is saying, but this ring is burning a hole in his pocket. And he feels like it's now or never, basically. He's leaving in a few days. He's not going to leave with what ifs. So the next time we see them, because, that got everyone a little nervous, I'm sure. He pulls the ring out, and she says, oh, it's so nice and beautiful. And he's like, I bought it with the intention of proposing. And she's like, no. And he's like, after talking to her, he understood that it would be no. She says, she can't be his wife, and he's like, I'm giving it to you, no strings attached, so you have something to remind you of me. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I have nothing for you. And, he wasn't expecting that. He doesn't want a gift. She puts it on and thanks him and gives him a kiss. He says he came here to find a wife, but after talking to her and seeing where she's coming from, he knows that she needs time because this is happening fast. So he changed his approach to a promise ring instead of a proposal to show her he is serious. And I think that's adorable. And I think he navigated that situation very well. And he's saying, he loves her and he can wait for her. She thinks, the ring is so beautiful, and anytime she sees it, she's going to think of Harold. She's all smiles, and she really loves it. He's like, okay, so what's going to happen now? We'll talk to each other, see each other later. And she's like, yeah, let me know when you make it safe. He's like, oh, I thought we would talk more than that. I have lots of stuff to talk to you about. He says the next step is to work on communication and talk more and video chat. She wants to see where he lives and stuff like that. She says she gets vacation in a few months, so she might take some of that time and plan to come see him in his city. She's happy she got to meet such a great person, and it might be the beginning of something bigger, who knows. But Harold has to get to the train, and she says she's not going to forget this the rest of her life. Or he's not. Yeah, they both won't forget this. I must have typed it wrong. One of them won't forget it for the rest of their lives. I think it was her. So, he wants her to come and see his place and be his wife. But he realizes that he needs to show her he's willing to wait for her. I'm not sure if that's exactly what she was looking for, but it's a good step. She's like, if you feel lonely, you can call. Everything's going to be okay. He's glad to have found a woman who understands him. Hopefully in time they can be together. And maybe, just maybe, she'll ask him to be her boyfriend instead. That's the spirit, Harold. We don't chase, we attract. And, all in all, Harold's leaving happy. Later on, he does get a final meetup with Katerina. And he went all out with the suit, and he kept his signature bow tie. And I just love that for him. She was impressed. I'm sure he did it to impress her. He says the last time he talked to Michaela was when he said goodbye. And now he's going to see Katerina for the last time. She asked him how the trip went. He's like, could have been better. Could have been worse. She looks a little concerned by that. He tells her, he asked her to be his girlfriend, and she said no. And he just thinks she needs time to sort her feelings. Katerina's like, yeah, deep feelings take time. And he said it wasn't going to happen fast because, he was ready. He had all this prepared years in advance. And the idea is new to her. So I think he's understanding. He said he backed off a lot and changed his mind about proposing marriage. And so he gave it to her as a promise ring instead. And, just a promise that he's going to wait. He didn't get the answer that he wanted, but he did get the reaction that he wanted. And he hopes that she will call him and they'll continue to learn each other and grow. She can see, that he's dedicated to this, and Harold tells her he has pillars that are must-haves, and they're trust, love, sci-fi, and attraction. And all of that's definitely there with her. She wants to know what he sees in the future for him and Michaela, and he says, step by step, become closer friends over the next few months. And when she comes to visit, he hopes to show her his world. And then that will be the proper time to get engaged. He's just very hopeful something's going to come from this. He feels he learned a lot and he deserves to find love. And he thanks her for her time he had there. And, he always lives in the future and never in the present. And he was living in the present while he was there. She says she wants updates, and so do I. She's happy to see him be a mature, grown-up man. She knows he's determined to find a wife, and she thinks that everything you pour your energy into will help it grow. And that Harold has a lot to offer in a relationship. And then they have a nice hug. And, she hopes Michaela will be the one, but we're just going to have to wait and see. And that was a really nice moment considering how upset I was in the beginning because I thought she was being very harsh and, stern and mean with him. But I was probably projecting a little bit because I just wouldn't want someone to talk to my kids like that. But I think whatever she did helped him and it helped Michelle. So she must be doing something right. This is not my profession. So I didn't like her by the end, but I didn't hate her guts. So there's that. Anyway, finishing up with Harold. The next day he's packing. He's leaving, happy, but he's close to being sad. He's excited for her to visit in a few months. And, she really better stick to that because he has his heart set there. And he'll be devastated if she can't come. Also, this is the best prospect he's had in years. Overall, this trip has been rewarding. He might not have a wife or a girlfriend, but he has a romantic connection. And, being on the spectrum makes dating hard. And having a matchmaker helped him navigate and led him to finding love. And I think that's what I was trying to say about Katerina. Like, he probably needed someone with her personality to help him, whereas I'm more of a nurturing type, and I just want to help people and make them feel okay. And sometimes harsh truths are hard. So I was happy with that little wrap up for Harold. I'm happy for him. It went much better than I was expecting after his first date. Yeah, hopefully we get to see him again. I guess I wasn't exactly ending with Harold, but that was the last main part of the episode. So now let's talk about some updates. Nathalie, the update with her is with Juan's encouragement to embrace her youth and freedom. She spent another month in Colombia having fun and going on dates. And when she went home, she told her family that she wants to focus on herself, and her mom agreed to lay off on the matches for now. So my only question here is, if she stayed another month having fun and going on dates, why didn't we see any of that? We only saw her a couple episodes. But that's cool. Maybe she wanted to have fun off camera so she could be more relaxed, getting sexual, sexy-like or whatever. Next up, our guy Mark. He never did hear back from Huda, but he gained a new perspective on vulnerability while dating abroad. And he's still dating, just in the States now, and he's determined to find a wife. And I hope he does. I think he is a really good guy. He definitely grew on me, for sure. Besides the whole not looking up the laws in another country you're trying to date in. But that was just kind of something a lot of people do. Anyway, next up, Michelle. She has been talking to Pavel since she went home. They're discussing a future visit, and she's hoping he's going to be her Prince Charming. Chad. Chad. I thought I was done talking about Chad. Maria accepted the apology, but they never spoke again. And he didn't give up. He met a German woman online, and he plans to go there soon to propose. I hope that she watches this or sees it, and, they're not married by now. Or, hopefully he doesn't go over there and yell at her. So we find out that Susan and Mauricio have kept in contact since she got home. But she's not waiting for him to visit because she now plans just to move to Italy. And I love that for her too. I think she's one of those people who, doesn't need love. She wants it, and she's adventurous. And I think Italy is a perfect place for her. Next up, Harold and Michaela continue to get to know each other, but they don't talk as often as Harold would like. He's still hopeful that she will visit him soon. I'm sure he could talk to her day and night and it wouldn't be enough because he is head over heels for that woman, and I think if anyone was going to be gentle with him, it would be her. So I hope she gets to visit him and we get to see it. And finally, Stanica. Her and Noradine talk every day. He got to meet her family over video call, and they're looking into what visa he would need to visit her. The easiest is probably going to be the K1, and she should come on 90 Day Fiancé or something like that. Universe. The universe will make it happen. So, thank you guys for sticking around. Thanks for making it to the end. If you did, please like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. I'm so excited that I finished my first season of a show. I'm glad that I stuck with it. Yeah, I love it. It's fun. I hope you guys are having fun as well. Also, don't forget to take care of yourself and do something nice and maybe buy yourself a gift because you deserve it. And don't forget to take deep breaths because we all need deep breath moments. And relax your shoulders. I always forget that part. So, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Bye.